Assalamualaikum. My name is Dayana.
My name is Aqilah.
Today we'll be presenting about the short story, The Fun They Had. The Fun They Had. Margie even wrote it that night in her diary. On the page headed May 17th, 2155, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time.
"Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away. I guess our television screen must have had a million books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away."
"Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, "Where did you find it?"
"In my house," he pointed without looking because he was busy reading, "in the attic."
"What's it about?"
"School?"
Margie was confused. "School? What's there to write about school? I hate school." Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector.
He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at her and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part she hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the mark in no time. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted her head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Miss Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average 10 years level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory." And he patted Margie's head again.
Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school?"
Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. "Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago." He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully, "centuries ago."
Margie was hurt. "Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago." She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, "Anyway, they had a teacher."
Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man.
"A man? How could a man be a teacher?"
Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions.
A man isn't smart enough.
Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher.
He can't. A man can't know as much as my teacher.
He knows almost as much, I betcha. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that, she said.
I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me.
Tommy screamed with laughter. You don't know much, Maggie. The teacher didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there.
And all the kids learned the same thing?
Sure, if they were the same age.
But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently.
Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book.
I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called.
Margie, school.
Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama.
Now, said Miss Jones, and it's probably time for Tommy too.
Margie said to Tommy, "Can I read the book some more with you after school?"
Maybe, he said nonchalantly. He walked away whistling, the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm.
Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learn better if they learn at regular hours. The screen was lit up, and it said,
Today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot.
Margie did so with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so they could help one another on the homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen.
When we add the fractions, Margie was thinking
Ma-
about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. In my opinion, the fun they had throws light on an interesting aspect of the technological world we will have in the future. Consequently, it is set in the future where two children discuss the way things functioned in the earlier days. Further, they talk about the books, which comprise of paper instead of the telebooks they have now. It is rather interesting to read about the conversation between the little kids. They get fascinated by the concept of school, which prevailed in the days of their grandparents. Moreover, they also talk about how those days were much more fun. The fun they had does show us the reality of technology taking over in the future. From your opinion, what is the main theme of this short story?
In my opinion, the main theme of this short story is about the education. The narrative faced the future of education, which will become more computerized and didn't have a lot of social interactions between people.
Okay.
Hmm?
When Margie sees the book, what things about the book did Margie find it strange?
Margie find the book quite weird because the words on a book stood still and didn't move like how she always see it on the screen. Also, the words on the book pages stayed the same and didn't change.
Okay. In the short story, Margie told that the telebook is better than the real book. What is the difference between these two?
In my opinion, a real book is the book that we usually read, and it is printed out and made of pages. Meanwhile, a telebook is a book that we could read on a screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you think Margie's school? Did she have any classmate?
Margie's school was in the room beside her bedroom at her house. And Margie didn't have any classmate as the mechanical teacher was made to teach kids individually.
And the last question, what do you think Margie was scornful about?
Margie was scornful about there were a book that wrote about school. She hated school so much because of her mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse. Okay, now it's your turn. The first question: what did you feel when you read the short story, The Fun They Had?
I feel very shocked that in the year of Margie and Tommy lived based on the short story that they didn't know what the book was, because nowadays we live with a lot of books around us everywhere we go around the world. That make me think that it is possible that the printed out book will disappear from the world.
The second question, do you think it is possible that one day the mechanical teacher will exist and teach the student instead of real person?
Yes, it may be possible, but for me, I think robots won't replace teachers because they can inspire us to go through in study. As Jobs says, according to a transcript of his famous 1995 interview with Computer World's Dana Morrow, he said the most important thing is a person who incites your curiosity and feeds your curiosity, and machine cannot do that in the same way that people do.
The third question, in your opinion, what is the good thing about the mechanical teacher?
The mechanical teacher is a computer screen with a good audio video system and taught students in mechanical and voice tone, so it can look at everyone as equal, and all the subject that we learn will be taught by a single teacher. It also quickly correct mistake of students, and test paper can be corrected in no time.
Next one. Why did you think Margie did not like the mechanical teacher?
She hated the mechanical teacher because it used to teach her every day at a fixed time in her house. She hated the part when she had to insert the homework and test in the slot on the mechanical teacher. The mechanical teacher always gave her test after test and make her feel more stressed about it.
Okay, the last one. Do you think if Margie goes to school just like the kids now, will she cherish the moment and enjoy going to school?
Yes, because Margie will feel the happiness or positive feeling like enjoyment and fun, including feeling safe and comfortable at school and having secure relationships with their teachers and their peers. Unlike study with the mechanical teacher alone that can make her feel stressed and lonely.
Okay. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.